I'm making sure I take the attendance as well.
Okay, let's get it.
And if you come in late, just put your name in the chat, especially if I'm presenting. I'll go back and either at the break or at the end of the class. If I don't, and make sure. I mean, everybody can put it in there just so, just in case I miss a name. I don't want to, miss anyone being in class. And like I said, this week, they understand that most people are still trying to get in. Like I have one student that was trying to get in Monday, and hopefully they'll be able to get in today.
Just ball.
All right, so
There you go. Yep.
So did everyone find the slides and the supporting document? I will take that as a yes.
Mine still isn't there. I've refreshed the browser and I logged in and logged out.
Check. They have you in the class, so second. So
There you go. Come on, man. No charge.
So you don't see anything like the course overview. Do you see start here?
Yes, I do see start here. I see start here, yes.
Okay, what is underneath start here?
So under start here is it's the welcome course and overview, the instructor information, all of that stuff. I slide down. When I tap on class slides, it says this folder is empty. Also for supporting documents, this folder is empty.
Oh, you know what? There's a little arrow to the right.
Right, the right on it. Right.
And it's still coming up as empty?
Yeah, that's so when it drops down, it says this folder is empty. Even when I click on it, it says this folder is empty. It does the same thing.
Let's see why. Is anyone else having that issue? Or is
Sorry, I didn't get the issue. What was the issue?
So if you go under the class slides, you should be able to see all the slides. Those are the slides that Top Tier provided us, right? And then under supporting, I think I call it, supporting documents. There's those are the all the old slides from the previous teaching. I put a final exam in there. I have to add some more content. I added a lot of content earlier, but I put it in the wrong semester. They put the fall semester up already, so I actually uploaded all that for the semester. But it should have like the final exam, all my chapter slides. The reason why I gave you the chapter slide, what I'm going to do is tie them, the chapter slides that I wrote up have a lot more information than the slides that they gave us. The slides that they gave us are kind of like, they have bullet points, but it doesn't really define a lot of the terms. But I'm go in, basically, I'll talk to those, but that's another way, it's more like a reference
There you go.
material. Um, and then I gave, there's an ebook in there that actually has all of the, about, I think 300, it might be more than 300, but it basically has this SY 501 exams in there, exam questions, sample questions for the exam. I'm trying to get a digital copy of the 601 so I can upload it, but that's straight from CompTIA. And that you all, those are practice questions that you all can actually use to study as well. Right, so I was gonna get them uploaded, but I just uploaded them to the wrong spot. But I'm also giving you some more of my quizzes from previous years.
Module 1 slide.
Say that again, please.
So you're looking at the module 1. Are we supposed to be looking at the module 1 slide box?
Yeah, it's SY 0601 01 PowerPoint. But I mean, you don't have to. I provided you all those slides so you can always go back as a reference. And if you want, you can download them and put your notes on there as well. But Tiffany, what I'll do is I'll work once it's, because I don't think we're gonna go full enough for the class tonight. I mean, we went Monday, but what I'll do is try and work with you so you can get all of them, see the same content as everyone else.
Okay, thank you.
And our class, I'm just going to do a brief overview of the syllabus. There are going to be four, basically 3 quizzes and 1 final. The final is the most important part of it. You need to score 80 or above for the final, so you can get the voucher for the, for the certification exam. And the other 3 quizzes, I'm going to, in the past, some of the classes I actually dropped one of the lowest grades, just depending on how people do on that first exam. That'll kind of gauge whether, because some people have anxiety, so I understand that on the first exam. That's why another reason why I provided you all kind of like the sample exam, so they give you an opportunity to see what they look like. And most of your exams, I'm trying to do at least 50 questions. The final will be 90. And what I'm trying to prepare you on is for the actual certification exam is 90 questions, 90 minutes. So, it's just trying to, basically what this course is trying to prepare you to do is, think about how to approach the exam. And, the best advice I can give is read the answers first, then go through the questions. And, if you get stuck on something, just go to the next one, because it's just, better to finish as much as you can rather than run out of time because you got stuck on 1 or 2 questions. All right, so all right, so we're going to start where we left off. Come on. There we go. Well, can everybody see this, or do I need to expand it, enlarge it some? So actually, on everything. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut the mic off.
No, I just said we could see it.
Okay, cool. All right, so um, I think we left off at this one. Basically, this talks about the NIST cybersecurity framework. Uh, like I said, a lot of, especially in this area for Security Plus, a lot of government, well, 90% of government agencies utilize NIST standards for building out their framework so that they can do, if you can build out your framework to kind of as the baseline, and then modify it to support the different, because every company does something, or corporation does something different. So, and then they all have different types of systems, networking equipment. But NIST basically just gives you just like a generic framework. They don't really go specific with devices, device manufacturers, because the thing is, if you start going with device manufacturers, one, you're giving that manufacturer the upper hand as far as, if this is the standard, everybody has to use that because in, basically it's written in. Also, you know, that company can start charging them. If you think about it, if I put, you have to use Cisco firewalls or something like that, then Cisco will just say, hey, you know what? I just push my prices up and I can get all, since I already cornered the market, it makes it hard for anybody else to come into the market. They want it to be competitive, so they actually make everything generic. They don't really name manufacturers because they want to make sure that, like a smaller company might be able to provide the same type of work, and, they don't want the thing set up like how, think of a cell phone market. Most people are either iPhone or Android. BlackBerry has kind of disappeared because those two have kind of cornered the market. And also BlackBerry, refused to go along with the changes of the time. So that's why they fell behind. So when you look at these on the exam, for the most part, when you look at these different frameworks, what you want to really pull out of is what like the cybersecurity framework that belongs to NIST. The objective statement and current capabilities. This talks about the importance of framework. But when we go to this next slide, ISO, which is International Organization Standardization. When you think about ISOs, those are like, say for instance, you go buy a Microsoft disk that has an operating system on it. Usually, now those disks, it's hard to buy like operating system disks. Most of them come in the form of either an ISO or executable. An ISO basically just says like if you boot up a system using ISO, it'll actually load on that system without you having to do a lot of customization. So ISO basically goes through and builds out a checklist so that it's actually generic enough so that you should be able to load on any platform. Like, say for instance, you have a Windows 2016 ISO. It should be able to load on a virtual machine. It should be able to load on a physical machine. It should be able to load, you can do it on an HP or you can do it on a Dell. You can't load it on an Apple machine. People that came in late, just put your name in the chat box so I can make sure you're present. So with the ISO, they basically have 27,000 information security standards. So on the exam, you won't have to, memorize what these actually do. What you really are looking at is saying, all right, I know for ISO, it has 27,000, security standards and the risk management section. So if it says the question might say, um, which one of these does not belong in Cloud Security Alliance? And it has this in there. Oh, it's not gonna all right. I tried to highlight it. But if it has the 27,000 as one of your answers, the answer might have, the question might have these three as an answer and this fourth one as an answer. So in that case, all you're really doing is, you just know that the information security standard belongs to ISO, not cloud security. So it's, they're not, on the exam, they're not going to want you to remember and be able to find every single thing because it just, that's not feasible for whether the class is 1 week or 4 to 5 months. These things are basically, these things are just like standards and they're not technical. So once you get a Security Plus certification, when you go
Yep,
out
yep.
and work for a company, they're not going to be like, tell me what belongs in the Cloud Security Alliance. I mean, they're going to more so want to know how do you implement a control, how do you fix some risk management, what's the process of with the incident response, how do I proceed there? They're more worried about that rather than knowing what things belong in the framework for cloud frameworks. So when you look at these standards and things like that, all you're really doing is making sure that you understand what belongs to what organization. So, like the Cloud Security Alliance is made up of the security guidance for cloud service providers, cloud controls, matrix, enterprise reference architecture. So, the reason why these things fall under there is because if you're a organization that's deciding to go into, move your network into the cloud, you need to understand these regulations that are provided to support your security needs. Because you can't just say, all right, the vulnerabilities will be, if for patching, you have to make a process of, not a process, but you have to make an agreement with the third-party cloud provider on patching. Because say, for instance, you have a custom software module or software application that's in the cloud running on the system, and if your system is being hosted by AWS, you can't expect AWS to know that if I run a patch, load the Windows patches on there, it's not going to break your application. So in that case, you need to have a test bed or a development area so you can test those patches. And that's up to you, because if you rely on AWS, they're going to say, hey, our job is only to provide the patches, to run the patches on the system, because we need to make sure our systems are secure and you can't come back and hold us liable if something happens. And I mean, there's an agreement in there where you actually, as the customer, can say we will do all of our own patching, and AWS actually will prefer you to operate it in that fashion. But a lot of times, if you don't ask for it, they'll actually provide those things for you. All right, so the statements on standards for attestation, engagement, service organization control, basically they're called SOC. SOCs are kind of like the new term, well, let me put it a better way. So there used to be a network organization control, which was the NOC. Basically, its job and function was
Make some more
they
shots.
had an area, and that's where all the evaluation and everything that was going on with the network. That's where you actually would sit there and make sure everything was running smoothly. So now, some organizations, in most organizations, you're not going to have a SOC because that requires you to have a huge team. Basically, you have a full blown security team. And since I've actually moving from a smaller IT team, we built out of about 10 people, to now I'm going over to the Holocaust Museum. They actually do have a SOC. They have their own security team. So they're going to be doing most of the security controls, but I'll be responsible for some of the major servers for the security. They actually do a lot of the security controls on the desktops that users use, and some of the like domain controllers and stuff like that. But all of the custom applications and things like that, the databases, I'll be doing all the security on that side of it for them because their team doesn't want to touch databases. They don't want to touch web servers and things like that. So I'll be doing all the handling for the security on there. So the SOC actually, they basically will do assessments, and they look at how the system can be, after they do their security scanning, they'll come in and reassess their environment to say, hey, how can we make this, more secure? And, because a lot of times when you start building your network, it's built in like patches, and most organizations are built in stovepipes. So you'll have like finance segregated on one VLAN, and then you'll have HR on another one, and then everyone else in this other little area. If there are processes that all three areas have to work on, you can kind of merge those, and it's better to secure it in one spot than have to secure them individually. Because think about it, if something breaks and you have a vulnerability for security in one area, you have to fix that across three spots. And depending, each of them may have something configured a little different, which can cause an issue. But if you standardize it and just build it into one little area, and when I come in, all I have to do is fix one area of the system design instead of fixing across multiple, as they call them, stovepipes. Wrong way. All right, good. So basically, these are your benchmarks and secure configuration guides. And I mean, what you're really doing is you're taking these, when you're building out your network or your building out your enterprise architecture, you're taking these and looking at it as, this is where I can start off as my baseline. Like I said, with a lot of this documentation that's going to be required, it's already out there. They're little, what are they? Templates. The templates are already out there that you can just, download and customize it for your environment rather than reinventing the wheel. Just really, people are starting to ramp up their networks and build them out so quickly. A lot of things can be missed. So if you have templates that you can already just follow and just add stuff to them, it helps out your process a lot easier. So Center for Internet Security, These are basically the controls that are put in place as a baseline for internet security. So think of it as, you want to make sure the internal IP addresses aren't being broadcast out to the internet when people make requests or go to specific websites. And using that for the internet security control, it'll say, basically, I should have NAT addresses and basically those are network address translations. That as a user, I'll make a request. My IP address might be 10.10.10.10 or whatever. But when I actually go out to the internet, it'll translate over to maybe like a 69 dot something address, which is a public facing IP address. And what that does is keep hackers from being able to know specific information about specific IP ranges within your network. Because if they can figure out what the IP ranges are into your internal networks, then they'll start doing searches for machines within those networks. All right, so the next one is operating system, network platform, and vendor-specific guidelines and benchmarks. Like I said, these are guides and templates that you would say, actually, NIST is really good about this. Like, they have operating system checklists, and they will provide you an ISO that already has, they have ISOs that are for DoD, they have ISOs that are for government, and then they also, I think they have some that you can just download for, if you're a commercial. But, really, what you're looking at is you want to get the operating system that will be the most secure, and, you don't have to, if I just put that operating system on my network, and somebody came and did an audit, and they were running an audit and they tried to do scanning, I could always say, you know what, I know this operating system is secure because I downloaded it from the different one of these departments, like you could do. DoD probably has the Department of Defense Cyber Exchange. They also have ISOs as well. It just depends which your organization benchmark is going to be. Like for the Navy, we had templates and ISOs that were specific for the Navy and how they wanted accreditations to be and how their system, how they wanted their system secure. So we would just take that ISO. When we started loading out applications, that's when you do your configuration changes on that ISO to support your application or functionality of what your department is trying to do. And from there, you do the scanning, and then once you do the scanning, you'll get an assessment report back, and you kind of figure out what you need to fix or whether you're going to take risks. Application servers and web server applications, a lot of this, for instance, Microsoft Office, they basically have, built out their system so that they can support, if, the benchmarks can support different government agencies. Because if Microsoft had a lot of, honestly, they have a lot of bugs in them. So they have vulnerabilities. But the thing is, that's why they send out patches once a month, which is always the second Tuesday in every month. They send out patches to fix vulnerabilities in their network or in their software. So but then there is a baseline that says, we know that if you download this version of it, we know that it's secure for your environment. And not all companies can do that. Adobe is one that actually used to do that. They also have to do that once a month as well. And sometimes it's more because a lot of they know you can get a lot of vulnerabilities found in Adobe documents, especially the ones that are editable. So you'll get, because some of it has. I know the old versions used to have like some type of Java in there, and Java can be insecure at times. So with the application servers and web server applications, as an auditor,
Let
I
me get
used to
one
do
more.
a lot of not auditor / penetration tester. I would always use when I was trying to exploit something on a system that I was testing. I would always look at the OWASP, which is the Open Web Application Security Project. That actually defines all of the what are the major vulnerabilities in application security, web applications, and using stuff like cross-site scripting, um, input validation. So, say for instance, you go to a website, and at the website, you have to fill out a form, and the form says enter your phone number. Some people could put XXX. If I'm not doing input validation and you put in all X's, when that loads up into the database, it's going to put characters in the database. Before it even does, before you should be able to press submit for the web page, the application that you're working on, before you even hit submit, when you type in XXX, it should automatically check right when you try and tab into the next box or click onto the next box. It should check and say, hey, these aren't numbers. You need to have it in this format. If it doesn't do that, a lot of times you'll see